Good afternoon, anti-novelists, Lilligans, curious onlookers, and friends. Welcome back to the library. We have gotten an amazing break in the heat. It's literally like only 80 degrees today, which is ridiculous. We slept with the windows open last night. It was beautiful. So very grateful for the break in the heat. So I got a question over on a video a couple of days ago asking about world building. Okay, so number one, I'm going to go very deep and wide into this in the book Zettelkasten for Fiction, Where Imagination Finds Order. So I am, let's see, where am I at right now? Today's word count is 20,626. I've done some edits that's changed my word count a little bit, but the book is coming along at a nice little clip. All good stuff. But I've gotten some questions specifically about world building and how to marry world building up with your Zettelkasten. So, as I said, I'll go deep into that in the book with several different suggestions. But I wanted to address it here because the way that I did it grew organically out of my writing process, and that's what I want to share. So, let's talk for a moment about mapping, specifically timelining. What you're looking at, first of all, I've often said nothing in the library goes unrecycled or unreused. So this is just a piece of easel paper that I have folded a few times so that I have a nice page to use to make a timeline of my story. So I did this in probably the beginning of 2021 when I first started working on my story. I had not yet discovered the power of the Zettelkasten. I was maybe looking at a video or two, but this was just me lining out for myself, what does the timeline look like? I would argue this is a critical piece of getting your world building done, because you need to orient yourself in time so that you have some cohesive framework that you can use to hang your details on. I'll get deeper into that in the book, but for here, let's just take a quick look. In my story, I begin with 1840, and I make a note. 1840s is when sewing machines were invented. Now, in terms of Zettelkasten, I have a ton of research about who patented, who invented the sewing machine, what were the reasons, who were the key competitors. All of those details play into my book, my novel, The Conjuring Stitch, which I have set aside, finishing the developmental edit in order to finish writing Zettelkasten for Fiction for you guys. So I'm hammering out the how-to book before I finish the developmental edit for my own novel. But let's continue. 1867, Colonel Fabian, George Fabian, is born. George Fabian is an actual historical character. He founded a group called the Riverbank Laboratories. That is an area, I want to say it was west of Chicago, that's off the top of my head, I could be wrong, where it was this expanse of an area where he was experimenting in all kinds of different things. He was just interested and passionate about exploring ideas and bringing together the very best minds to push forward on all of these different fronts that he was interested in exploring. So, George Fabian, because I love to include historical elements in my stories, George Fabian figures prominently. So I had to know when he was born. And then if we go forward a little bit in time, Fabian creates Riverbank. Now, any of you that have been following me over in LiLLiPub and workshopping the chapters of my novel in my developmental edit, you know about Riverbank because we've just met Gretchen and Branch where they talk about how they work together at Riverbank. So for the rest of you, those are spoilers, but that's a key piece of information. So see how that works So from 1867 to June of 1916, I have Fabian kind of plotted out on my timeline. Now, what happens in between there? I've got my main male character, Marshall Branch, born in 1879. I've got the grandmother of my main female character, born in 1897, Frances. What is Branch doing? You see, this is highlighted in blue. This is highlighted in blue. So I know this is Branch's timeline. Branch, during the years of 1900 to 1910, he's traveling and he's ranching on his family's generational cattle ranch in Guthrie, Oklahoma. In 1911, he graduates from Cornell University. So what I'm doing is I'm building a timeline through time and space that allows me to hang those particular details of the world of my novel onto the timeline. The reason this is important is because the timeline gives you the world building index by which you will Zettelkasten the world that you're building. I know, that's a lot, but it works. Trust me, because I've done it twice. And it works beautifully because, number one, the years don't lie. The years are always the years. And number two, once you line that up over in your note box and get those things figured out in time and space, then it's just a matter of doing your research and creating your cards. So choose one or two main characters on which you can hang the framework of your story. Generally, that's going to be your main character, your protagonist. So whoever that is, your hero, you're going to use their timeline from birth up to the present, or if you know when they expire, up to death. You're going to use their timeline, and that's how you're going to build the cards that create your world building. So let's continue just a little more. We know, if you've been following my story, I have a main male character, which is Marshall Branch, and I have a main female character. Now, my eagle-eyed viewers might notice this timeline goes 1, 2, 3/4 of a page, and then we see my main female character. Tara is born in 1979. Now, I've asked myself a question, where is she born? I later answered that, in Martin City, Missouri. Well, 1979 and 1879, okay, there's a little bit of a time disparity there. So we already know that we're not in a modern day, true to the time sense novel. My novel has a little bit of something magic going on in there because clearly he's 100 years older than she is. So already I've introduced a mystery. But you get the idea. You're using your main character in order to create that framework, and then you're going to do your research and create your cards and details from it. So I'm going to leave you there today because tomorrow we're going to pick up back here. I'm going to bring up the cards, and then I'm going to show you how I went from this to the cards that then populate the actual story Bible that allowed me to do the world building in order to get the book written. So if I have to give you an assignment, because I taught college for 2 decades and that's what I do, I give out assignments. I can't help myself. Number 1, start with the timeline of your main character. Visualize that on a page and then start using those dates. When were they born? When did they go to school? When did they graduate? What dates did they work and where did they work? Line all those things out. Get that stuff nailed down. And then you can start hanging the details of the story onto that framework. That, I think, for many, especially new writers, but even for writers that have an established story world, can help you organize and sort all of those details that are running around in your head. One of my readers over in, I want to say it was in Scott Scheper's community, had an amazing comment where she said she felt like her head was a bingo cage with all the balls rolling around. I hear you. I feel like that all the time. But having a good timeline that I can use as the way through to make that organization happen so that it all gets into the note box, then it gets indexed, and I'm good to go. I can find all those details whenever I need them. So start working on your timeline. Start thinking about what main character can I use as my way through those points in time, and then how do I start hanging those details onto that framework. That's your homework. Good luck. I will see you tomorrow when we come back to this timeline and I bring out the cards and show you how I turned this into my world building story Bible. So thank you again for your attention. I appreciate every single subscriber. You guys are blowing me away. I'm not even kidding. Every day I look and see, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you, because I know that time and attention is your most precious resource. And I'm very grateful that you share it with me. And I am happy to be here and to be of service. So if you have questions, do please drop me a comment. I will make a video and answer any questions that you have. I'm here to be of service because this system has allowed me to get my story written. It took me almost 35 years, which is ridiculous. But boom, I got it done, and I want to help you get your story done. So I will see you in the comments, and I will leave you here for today, and I will see you again tomorrow. Thank you.